Good evening. Good evening. Come on in. Come on in. We've got a viewer. Tell us where you're watching from. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. Awesome. Awesome. We'll wait for a few more people to join. All right. We're going to get started. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we want to engage in a conversation surrounding that. And we're going to get started right now. Just come on in. Oh, let's see. We got a comment. Hey, Anita. Good evening, sweetheart. Thank you for being so faithful and joining us tonight. Definitely like us and share us. Let someone know we are here. It is Go There Third Thursday, and to God be the glory. 1 in 3 women worldwide experience physical or sexual violence, mostly by an intimate partner. Violence against women and girls is a human rights violation. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, emerging data and reports from those on the front lines have shown that all types of violence against women and girls, particularly domestic violence, has intensified. They're even calling it the shadow pandemic, and it's a public health crisis. Joining me tonight is Dr. Carolyn McCummings, the Commissioner of the Nassau County Department of Human Services, DHS. Prior to this appointment, she has worked for 32 years successfully in Nassau County government in the Health and Human Services area. As DHS Commissioner, Dr. McCummings oversees 6 divisions that provide direct services and programs for residents of Nassau County. They are the Office of the Aging, the Office of Youth Services, the Office for the Physically Challenged, the Office of Mental Health, Chemically Dependency, and Developmentally Disabled, and the Opioid Treatment Clinic. We want to welcome Dr. Carolyn McCummings. Good evening. How are you?
Hi. I'm well. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We look forward to hearing from you. I also have on this evening, joining us is Detrel Howell. Detrel is a female combat veteran of the United States Army. She has 4 college degrees and is a living testament of what God can do to turn things around. She is a survivor, and she wears the title with great pride. As a soldier in the military, she's rebuffed many unwelcome advances, but never imagined that the violence she would face later in life would come from someone who held a special place in her heart. Detrel has established United in Sisterhood, a nonprofit organization which is solely dedicated to meeting the needs of female veterans. Welcome, Detrel. Come on in. Hi.
Hi.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mother Ferguson, for joining. Thank you. We've got a few people watching right now, but as I often tell everyone, I don't get caught up in numbers because I've seen these broadcasts take off. You know, we start out with 6 people and we end up with 60, and I look 2 weeks later and it reached 300 people. So whatever God's going to do, he's going to do. And we give him all the glory and all the praise. But we welcome those that are coming on board. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. I may be frozen. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just frozen, Carolyn, on your side. Somebody out there, let me know if I'm frozen to you as well. All right, because as the moderator, I don't want you to miss out on tonight. Domestic violence, I'm wearing purple in honor of domestic violence, is a public health issue. And so to talk to us a little bit more in terms of the stats, in terms of what that means to kind of demystify it all, we've got with us Dr. Carolyn McCummings. Again, welcome. And I'm going to put the spotlight on you right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So like you said, domestic violence is sort of the shadow pandemic. But, domestic violence has always been around, or intimate violence, partner violence has always been around, and it's always been a public health issue. The pandemic, of course, has made it worse.
Yeah.
But pre-pandemic, the public health advocates always thought that it was something that needed to be have more spotlight. Most people don't like to talk about domestic violence. Many people don't know that they're in a relationship that is violent. It's not only physical, it's also mental. It's depriving one's self to live free, if you will. So if someone that you're in a relationship with doesn't allow certain things, calls you names, a lot of things. It could be hitting, slapping, kicking, forcing you to have sex with them is domestic violence. Threatening to hurt you or your children or your family. Constantly insulting you or criticizing you, stalking you obsessively, and otherwise try to control your behavior. So this is all what domestic violence sort of encompasses, right? Like I said, most people think it's just, oh no, he didn't hit me, he doesn't hit me. It's not just that, right? So we have to bring more awareness to people and let especially women know that, if you're in any kind of situation that is not pleasant or is uncomfortable, you may be in a domestic violent partnership. So when we talk about the pandemic, right? So people are locked in their houses, they shut us all down. People had to be home from school, home from work. And believe it or not, a lot of the domestic violence hotlines had prepared to get more calls because people were being shut in, only to find that that's actually a problem, because if you're shut in with your violent partner, you're not going to be able to make any calls, right? You're stuck in the room, the house, the environment, because the whole world is shut down.
Yeah, that's true.
And so they didn't get as many calls as they thought that they would get. So the only way that we were really aware that domestic violence had increased, which we kind of knew it would, was through the police reporting. So however people were able to somehow get and call the police, because it may have gotten, so bad that the police had to be called. But just think about the other situations where the police didn't have to be called and you're stuck there with this partner of yours that is violent, right? So in terms of some of the statistics, and I'm going to read this from another paper I have here. So this is data from around the whole United States, and it's mostly from, like I said, the police departments. So let's just take some place like Portland, Oregon, right? The public schools closed March 16, 2020, and on March 23rd was the stay-at-home order. So that was basically for most of us in the United States. But in Portland, they recorded a 22% increase in arrests related to domestic violence, right?
Wow, in 1 week.
Yep. In San Antonio, Texas, same time frame, they received an 18% increase in calls pertaining to family violence. In Jefferson County, Alabama, the sheriff department, they reported a 27% increase compared to 2020, right? And then in New York City, more closer to home where we are, they reported, the police responded to a 10% increase in domestic violence compared to 2019, right? So, and this is sort of, so you see that the numbers vary from 10% to almost 30%. So when you put that all cumulative around the whole United States, it was an increase of at least 20% from the previous year, right? So, here we are, people are going back to work, kids are going back to school, there is some relief, but just imagine what people had to go through during that 18 months of being shut in, right? We talked about this before, you and I, when we had the pre-talk, and we talked about, kids being at home now, right? So, or anyone being at home. So usually when you're out of the house, you're sort of safe, right? And you're safe for a number of hours. But being in the pandemic and at home, you're no longer safe.
Right.
So there's an increased increased times or more time that the person would be in the situation than normal hours. And we're seeing this all now with people being able to call and say, listen, I'm having mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
My kids are acting out more at school. It's just a lot of different things that we're seeing that tells us, this is now a public health crisis.
Right. Wow. So when we say domestic violence, I know we really think about women, we think about girls, but domestic violence could be anyone in the home.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the main things I know for me that I used to always think. I used to always think of it as a man hitting a woman. But we live in a very diverse society today. And I mean, there is elder abuse, there is, obviously child abuse, all these different kind of things. Do all of these kind of fall under that heading of domestic violence, and this being Domestic Violence Awareness Month?
It absolutely does. So, we use the words in intimate partner. So we talk about someone like a husband, a wife, a girlfriend, boyfriend, right? We also have a lot of same-sex relationships now. So here we are. We're not only talking about women, we're talking about men also, or women abusing other women in their intimate relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's where the intimate partner violence comes from. But domestic violence is broad. It could be, anyone in your household. It could be someone older. It can be the kids. So yes, it's all one subject of domestic violence.
Okay.
Family violence.
And does the stat support an increase in, those areas as well? Was there more elder abuse or child abuse or anything like that?
Yeah, the stats talk about the elders being abused, just simply, and it's a fine line between, is it abuse or is it the fact that we were in a pandemic and we were not able to visit people, help people, be with people, people did all kinds of things to prevent, not being able to see their loved ones if they needed help. So that, of course, is not abuse. But yes, there has been an increase in different types of abuse having to do with money, because with elders, it's abuse. Financial abuse is still abuse, right? And so there was an increase in that as well, and that could come in the form of people applying for benefits for someone older in their name and then not knowing it, right?
Ooh, okay.
So we talk about financial, people are really savvy these days. They know how to trick the system and trick people, and it really is a form of abusing someone.
Wow. So your office, I mean, in your role on a day-to-day, talk a little bit about what it is that you do and the kind of services that you provide.
Right. So we have my office that would really deal in this situation is the Office of Mental Health. Right. We have a 24-hour hotline in Nassau County. It's 227-TALK. That hotline is for any kind of mental or behavioral health issue or substance abuse issue.
Okay.
So we did see an increase of people calling us first to figure out, listen, I'm in this relationship, I'm stuck at home, I have no one to talk to, I'm feeling crazy anyway as it is, and now I have someone, who's, abusing me. What do I do? So we could refer them to different places, depending on which they need the most.
Right. Is that 516-227-TALK?
Yep, 516-227-TALK.
Okay, I want to definitely put that up. And is that all confidential?
Absolutely confidential.
Okay, and the people on the other end of that line, I'm assuming they're trained. They may be even social worker, maybe some of them are ministers, I don't know. But everything is confidential, obviously. It
is confidential. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week. And yes, there are trained licensed social workers, licensed substance abuse workers. So depending on what you call for, they will then patch you into that person with that specialty.
Okay.
Including someone who is talking about suicide, right? If someone says, I need help with domestic violence, well, let me patch you over to our Coalition for Domestic Violence.
Okay.
So it is a crisis hotline. It's also a referral hotline.
Wonderful. One of our viewers had a question or statement. You often hear order of protections failing to work. Any improvements in this area? Thank you, Jackie.
I can't say that there's been any improvements. They do fail to work, and a lot of times, again, when someone is in an abused relationship and you get an order of protection, someone has to be really ready to say this is the end, and that could be months, that could be years. When people call and say, "Listen, I'm just done," people can be put into a shelter situation where your abuser has no access to you. A lot of people are not ready for that because they feel like, I have all this other life that I have to tend to, not realizing that this, your life could be very different. Your life could end if you don't make certain decisions. So sometimes when we have failed order protections, it's just the abuser's way of saying, look, listen, I don't care what you have. I'm still going to abuse you in any way that I can.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. We're going to hear from you some more. But right now, I think that is a good segue in for Detrel, who is not only, as I said earlier, combat veteran in the U.S. Army, but also a domestic abuse survivor. So I'd want to hear her story at this time. Detrel, thank you so much for coming on and being with us this evening.
I'm honored to be here. Can you hear me well?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So as you mentioned when you read my bio, you never anticipate falling in love with someone and being a victim at the hands of that person you love. But that's exactly what happened in my life. I fell in love with someone, and the arguing, the yelling, the critiques were just overbearing. And there was the sound. I'm reading the comment. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, it's gone a little in and out, probably because I think you had your earphones earlier. That's okay. I mean, we can still hear you fine.
Okay, great, good.
Yeah.
So I'll just move a little closer. I hope that helps.
Yes, that's perfect. Whatever you just did.
Okay. So as I was saying, you just never anticipate that would be what would befall you. Mm-hmm. So first there was the slap across the mouth and the apologies, the never-ending apologies. I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. I don't know what I was thinking. And you want to forgive. You want to believe that was it. It will never happen again. But I found myself answering the phone at midnight being asked to come out for a favor because his car had stopped running. And I could hear on the other end that he was intoxicated. When I arrived, the car not running became my fault. I couldn't believe it. I had gotten out of my bed to come and to do a favor. And when he sat in my vehicle, he was holding a can of beer, a tall can of beer. That can of beer suddenly found its way upside my head. I was parked in a gas station, and I tried with all my might to get out of the car. And I just kept getting pulled back because I got punched in the face. My glasses went flying. My wig was off of my head. All I smelled was beer all over me. And I pressed on the horn. I stayed on the horn to try to get the gas station attendant to come out or to call the police. The man looked out. He kept looking out, but he did not respond. And it seemed like the beating went on and on and on. And finally, my abuser said, I want you to drive. I want you to take me where I want you to take me. So I started the car, and I'm still getting hit and abused, and I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was going to die. And I just couldn't believe that this was my life. This is what things had come to, because I'm smarter than that. I'm educated. I'm articulate. I'm a professional woman. How did I get here? This is all my fault. What did I do wrong? So finally, I was able to pull the car over. He wanted me to get out so that he could drive, even though he was intoxicated. And I had a spare key because he had taken the key out of the ignition. I had a spare key, and God was with me because I was able to put the key in the ignition, start the car, and drive off. My driver's door was wide open, and I could have fallen out. Anything could have happened to me, but I was able to drive to the police station. And that should have been it for me, but it wasn't. So I say to women everywhere that, one, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything to cause this. We fall in love with our hearts. We expect to be treated in a certain way. And sometimes things go awry. But you've got to keep your eyes open. And if it's not the relationship for you, you have to learn to step away. I've seen situations where mothers have been the victim of domestic violence at the hands of their own children, grandparents. As Dr. McCummings mentioned earlier, you have, the situations are just so far-fetched and unbelievable, but they're real. They are truly real. In all of this haze, I found myself at New York Theological Seminary. I knew that God was talking to me and that I had to do things differently. I had to follow God's calling for my life. I had been running in the opposite direction for far too long. And while I was in seminary, I was blessed with the vision to start an organization called United in Sisterhood, specifically for female veterans. Female veterans suffer sexual trauma more frequently than women who live in regular communities. They suffer at the hands of their superiors, and they are threatened when they want to report it. So they keep quiet. They remain silent. I don't know how many people know the story of Vanessa Guillen, a Fort Hood soldier whose body was found last year. She died at the hands of someone who continued to pursue her. And he killed her and dumped her body. But she reported it, and nothing was done. So that's my story. I could go on, but then I'll get choked up. But I am a survivor.
You are. Thank you so much for your transparency and all. To the comment that Jackie made, people get an order of protection. I know my mom had an order of protection one time. And it's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper, and it just never seems like it's enough when you're going through something like that, when you're trying to protect your family, yourself, your loved ones. Prior to coming on here, I thought of some shows that dealt with domestic violence that we probably have all seen enough with Jennifer Lopez, Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts. I mean, these were like really powerful stories, but everyone's story doesn't end like that. I thank God, Detrel, you are here with us to tell your story, to help others. And it just makes me wonder, because I am all for the 5K run, the race, the marathons, the little pink, ribbons and breast cancer, all for it. And I know the month of October gets, breast cancer awareness gets all the glory. But this is also a big thing. And Dr. Cummings, thank you for pointing it out that it is a public health issue. It's not a woman's issue. It's not a woman's issue. It's a public health issue. It's something that for far too long, we just kind of turn the other cheek and not spend enough time talking about it, where to get help, how to reach out, being afraid. I know in both of those movies, these women were afraid, but, they came up with a plan. They got themselves together, and it took time. And sometimes, time is on our side, and other times it's not. And so I'm not sure, where we find that balance to extend, to even see the signs. Like if someone's dating someone right now, if we've got young viewers and they're dating someone, and, again, as we said, he's not hitting her, but you just see the rough talking and the intimidation and things of that nature. Sometimes we don't want to see it because we're in love. We want to, we just want to be with that person. What more can we do, in your opinions, your thoughts? What can we look for? What can we tell our young, women, our young men to look for?
Yeah, well, one of the key words that is being used and thrown around a lot these days is, my relationship is a little toxic, right? So, and that's a different word than using, I'm in, a domestic violence situation. No, it's just a little toxic. We have these little fights. Well, no, a relationship is not supposed to be toxic. Because remember, toxic is bad. You don't want anything that's toxic. So we have to sort of let people know what is the definition, and, what are the signs I should look for to say, well, yeah, I am in a relationship it's not supposed to be this way, right? And so that is one thing that we need to sort of make people aware of.
That's good.
Because
That's very good.
Again, like we said, no, he's not hitting you. But he's cursing you out every 5 minutes, or he's blaming you for certain things, or he's keeping you away from your family and your friends. Not allowing you to be with anyone else except for him or her. Right? We have to remember we have a lot of same-sex relationships. So in any relationship, if this is happening, you have to say, this doesn't feel right. If your friends say to you, what's up? We see you, or he or she is treating you this way. Bring it to their attention, because some people don't see. Some friends will not. Well, I'm not saying anything. That's their relationship. They have to work that out. No, if a true friend will bring it to your attention. Now, depending on what you're going to do with that information, that's up to you. But at least someone else is recognizing that something is not right.
That's good. That's good. Detrel, you want to chime in?
Yeah, the isolation, that's a big thing. I was kept away from my family, and I didn't see it at first. I just thought that, it's a new relationship. You are so drawn to be together. But it was more than that. It was
Control
around your family. And I didn't listen to my family. They tried to warn me. They saw things that I couldn't see, but I just thought they were wrong.
Wow. Wow. Walter had wow. Males find themselves being in relationship past the expiration date, even abusive relationships, for fear of being alone. And then he also posted, how often are male reported being abused? Carolyn, I don't know if you may know the answer to that.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, men are reporting being abused. So back to the same-sex relationships, right? So
Mhm.
men are reporting a little bit more, because they're in these relationships with other men, right? And they're being, abused. And so we are seeing an increase in the reporting of men
Okay.
being, in a violent relationship.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Again, thank you both for the transparency, for just kind of, I mean, I don't think we gave anyone anything that they didn't kind of already know, but we don't talk about it. No one's preaching it from the pulpit. There's not a workshop on it at the convocation, yet it's happening, and it's happening in our communities. And it's the kind of thing where we want to protect our young men, our young women. We, look for these signs, um, if he's making you feel less than, if he's keeping you from your family, if he's, you know, all these different things that raise red flags. If you're not feeling good about the relationship, then chances are there is something toxic about it. And you need to step back, and just really evaluate that. I want to put that helpline up again because I thought that was excellent. And now this is a 516 number, but anyone can call, I'm assuming. Do you have to
Right.
be
So
in
that,
Nassau County?
yeah, well, so the first number I put in the chat, the New York City Violence Support Hotline.
Okay.
I'm adding now. Yep. So I'm adding now the Nassau County hotline,
Okay. I'm going to add
which
that
is
in there.
272.
That's real important because, again, people know people and people will share. So this is good, the New York City one. This is good information to know. People can go back on the broadcast and see at any point. They can go back and get this information. I'm also going to put up the Nassau County one. And unfortunately, I can only put up one at a time. But again, people can go back, pause, and take down the numbers. So that's important. Good. Any final words? I'll give that to you, Detrel. Any final words based off of, where God has brought you from? You're looking beautiful. I hope you're feeling beautiful inside. You've got this, sisterhood, that you've started. What's next for you?
Well, it took a while for me to get to this point.
Mhm.
It took some time to get to this space. It definitely took time for me to start to believe in myself again and realize that I was not at fault. What's next for me? The sky is the limit. God is in control, and I move as God allows me to move.
Amen. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Dr. McCummings, thank you so very much for sharing this information with us, something that we can take in and definitely share with others. Sometimes when you see a helpline or a hotline, people don't want to call it. They don't know what to expect on the other end. But when they get it from a trusted source, um, it feels a little different. It feels like, okay, I can take a shot. I can try this. And so I pray that Gracefully Broken and Blessed Ministries is becoming a trusted source as every month we share things. Last month was suicide. And last month we had a young lady who attempted suicide 5 times. And then, God spoke to her heart and she realized she was here for so much more. She has purpose and she's here on purpose. And God is truly blessing her now. As Detrel said, the sky's the limit. So again, ladies, thank you. Hang out in the back studio for me. I'm just going to say goodbye to our guests and thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing this time. Hold on, okay? So everyone, again, every month we are here. We are here for you. If there is, as we go forth and start to prepare for 2022, if there is a topic, a thought, something you want to have a conversation about, something that is dear to your heart, please do not keep it to yourself. Let me know. You know how to reach me. You guys can DM me. You can call me, those that have my number, because we want to hit those hard issues. This was not an easy conversation. And I thank and praise God for my guests. I thank and praise God for their transparency. And so please pray for them. Please pray for our guest, Keisha Kogan. She wasn't able to join us on tonight due to an emergency, and we are praying for her as well. And if you know someone that, can use this information, if you know someone that can use prayer, we are there for them. Please get this information to them and just be a blessing. God bless you and have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Walter, for being the guy in the room and just sharing with us. And, this is about ministry. We're not trying to entertain anyone. We're not looking for, 500 likes. We are thanking God for being a blessing and looking to bless others. So everyone have a wonderful evening. God bless.